What's up, friends? It's me, Vindy, everyone's favorite rat. And this is a video I don't think I thought I would end up making. When this whole thing kind of started, I didn't think this was something I would end up talking about because I didn't think it was not my place, but I think it was something I didn't need to talk about. I didn't really have a real way to say anything about it. But I was shown some people talking about it and some more discussion that actually kind of set me off a little bit and kind of got me a little upset. And so now I want to talk about it a little bit. So obviously you can tell from the title, I'm talking about the Diginee situation, which if you don't know, Digibro, used to be Digibro, right? The artist formerly known as Digibro, who I would say is one of the most influential people in the AniTube community specifically, but especially in like an anime community sense, in a larger sense. I would say that Digi is probably the biggest inspiration for my content as it is now. I would say that when I think about my ideal type of content, I take a lot from Digibro. I know that the Weeb Club takes a lot from the PCP, and we take a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas from the PCP in terms of that's kind of a way we like to see that the Weeb Club going, with our own spin on it and our own change on it. And I mean the same way with Digi's content to mine, right? I want to put my own spin on it. But I do look at a lot of okay, if Digi can be successful just kind of talking in front of a webcam or a camera, if I can capture that, I can do that as well. And in my own way, of course, right? Obviously not being Digi, but, my own kind of way. And I think that's... So I would say that Digi is just, the biggest inspiration personally for me in terms of my own content. So I'm coming from a place of, I definitely fell out of Digi content for a while, and anyone who remembers which is now gone, Digi Part 3, I actually did an interview for that about why I had fallen out of faith as a Digibro fan. I had stopped watching Digi's content, and then I've definitely come around more recently. I've started watching Digi's content again. Not every video like I used to. I used to watch every After Dark video. I don't as much anymore. I just kind of watch, the little bits and pieces. Sometimes I'll watch, a rant, or I'll watch a video on the main channel. If it seems like something I might enjoy. And I think that, so I'm coming from someone who is, maybe not currently the biggest Digibro fan, right? I don't think I've ever patroned Digi, but Digi's someone whose content I do enjoy a lot, and I do think very highly of. So I think that Digi coming out as I don't know if it's just changing to Diginee and going femme, or necessarily coming out as trans. I'm a little I'm not good with the specific terms, as I clearly wouldn't be, right? I'm not the kind of person who gets in on the terms, but I think either way, if she wants to be more femme and wants to be known as Diginee, personally, I think that we should just, I think that there's no reason to really question that. Digi has been someone who has said for a long time now, I identify as more female. They identify with female characters more, and even was gender fluid a while ago. And if you notice, I took down my Anime Awards video because, I think there were things in that video that maybe there was a jab that I didn't really stand by anymore. I didn't think it was necessarily right to make in light of recent events, so I took it off my channel. And again, I think a lot of it comes down to, we aren't really the kind of people to judge someone else for that kind of decision, right? I'm a firm believer of, if trans and gender neutral people want to be normalized into society, which I'm all for, I think that what it comes down to is, treating them like normal people and calling them the pronouns and the the names that they want to be called, right? If someone wants to go by they, them, you call them they, them, because that's what makes them feel good, right? That's what they want, and at the end of the day, we aren't a person to stop that. Same with, I think, if someone is transgender and transitions from male to female, then who are we to say, just they're she now, right? That's the and I might be a little incentive with, I think, some of the phrasing and wording I'm using, and that's not the case. I'm just trying to explain myself, and it's late, and I've had a little bit to drink. I'm just trying to get my thoughts out here because I'm a little upset about some of the stuff I've seen in terms of with Digi specifically, because I've seen people, I watched the video someone sent to me. I'm not going to link the video. I'm not going to mention any more about the video other than explaining its points, because I think that the video is terrible and I don't want to give this person any attention. But I think there was like, the person was making this point that like, oh, as a trans person, it's harmful to me when I see Digi come out as Diginee now, because it's, you know, you're just being trans for clout or being trans on a one-off decision, and that I'm not that, and so you're making us look bad. And I think that that's such an asinine take, because, like, who are you? Like, again, like, I think it comes down to, you know, the same way I feel about it. Like, who am I to tell someone who they are, right? Like, I can't really control who someone else is. And the same way, I don't think they should be able to control who I am. And I think that there's even a step further, right? Which is, like, if personally, right, I was really upset about Diginee, right? I really thought it was bullshit. I hadn't seen the writing on the wall for years now about who Digi said that they were and how she talked about these things. If I hadn't seen that writing on the wall, and I was just like, whatever, you know, maybe it's one thing to say something behind closed doors, right? Maybe I personally have a friend who I talk to about a lot of this stuff, and I make jokes to them, right? That's different than saying something publicly, right? So if I had just said something to, you know, a really close personal friend, that's different than me making a YouTube video or making a series of tweets where not only could potentially Digi see it and that could, you know, harm, but like anyone I know who is transgender or is, you know, struggling with their, like, I think gender identity is the term, like, you're harming them, right? Because they could see that and that could harm them. I think the same way that, you know, this is obviously nowhere near, I think, a fair comparison, but, you know, if I made a tweet, and the reason I'm using this is because I want to try to make a comparison that maybe people who don't agree with me could understand and make it. So I don't want to hear that, oh, that comparison is not valid, it's harmful to a group, because, again, I'm just trying to explain it in a way that maybe someone who doesn't agree with me right now can. So say that, you know, I'm talking about, you know, Naruto's bad, you know, on Twitter, which I don't think, but say I was saying that. Now I think anyone who feels like Naruto's bad, it will get defensive or feel attacked personally. Even if I was talking about specifically a certain person, now all these other people who agree with that are kind of, you know, shit on. And I think that, like, that's, you know, on a much larger scale, because instead of talking about, like, a manga where people, or an anime where people feel, you know, maybe they're attached, but they're less attached than to something like their personal, like, identity as a human, right? Obviously, now we're talking about a whole different thing. But I still think that, like, some of those, like, concepts apply where, like, if you start saying that, you know, oh, well, this person isn't valid for that, well, now people start questioning, am I valid for how I feel? And that's not, like, you're not someone who can judge how someone else feels, right? Like, who are you to judge what someone else feels about themselves? And like, the fucking audacity to say that, oh, well, you know, this person isn't, whatever, is like, okay, but, like, it's them, and it's their decision. And maybe, you know, even if they hadn't said anything, which, by the way, Diginee has said before, things of a very similar nature, and it's why, when it came out, I like, wasn't surprised. Like, it was surprising, I think, that it happened, but, you know, when you look at it, it's not surprising that that's how she feels, I think, because it's been very clear through the past that that's how she feels about things. And so I think that, like, that's what a lot of it comes down to, is this idea of, well, you know, sure, like, it's not the most, I don't know, like, it just, I think it makes sense. And I don't think that, like, we're someone to tell anyone else how to feel about something like that, because we aren't them, we haven't lived our lives as them, we don't know what's going on in their head, and how they feel about themselves. So the idea just of you know, that, like, that, like, people were upset about it and didn't feel like Diginee was, like, a real, you know, like, it's harming the trans community or whatever, is, I think, asinine and is unfounded. And not only is it unfounded, I think it's hypocritical, for you to say that you want people to accept you, but you're not willing to accept other people for the same thing. It is largely hypocritical and very, very harmful, and puts yourself in a bad spotlight. And so that was mainly what I wanted to talk about and just mention that. I'm happy for Diginee if this is what makes her feel happier about her content and about her place in, because I even think in her original tweet she mentioned like something about, you know, being the big sister of anime or the AniTube or whatever. And if this makes her more content with her place, then I think that, like, yeah, that's great. Like I think What's tweet put it perfectly. I'm gonna go pull up What's tweet really quickly because I'm just gonna read it because I think it was phenomenal. About it. So he said, honestly, if anyone knew anything about at Digibra, which is still Diginee's at, and her thoughts on her own gender, they would know such things as she always identified more with female characters due to constantly being told that she looked like a girl. Always felt more feminine. Was always gender fluid. I can't see why anyone would see this as anything other than Digi just finally making the transition. If you knew anything about them, you would know that they're serious about this, and I honestly am glad that Digi's happy. And if the person who made a 3-part, like, literally drama series about Digibro, can kind of come to terms with this and be happy for Digi, I don't see how you can, in your right mind, not be. Again, I think that there's no reason to be hateful towards Digi or anything like that. I think that, again, it's Digi's choice, and we're not the kind of person who should be making claims one way or the other. That was all I wanted to say because I was really upset after watching that video, and I really think that, again, like, it's so asinine, the idea I saw, and so I thought I'd make this. This is much more of a Digibro After Dark style video. Or I guess it's probably Diginee After Dark now. I actually don't know. But, you know, much more of an older After Dark style video in terms of, like, there's not going to be really any editing on this after putting the intro in. I'm probably going to upload with a very basic thumbnail. I'm not really expecting, you know, anyone to watch this. This is just me kind of giving my thoughts on it in case anyone was curious. And because I wanted to put this out there as a, you know, like a idea out in the world. Because I do think that, like, it's something that I feel, I don't know how many people are talking about it, but I feel like it's something that is, I would legitimately say that I think it's one of the most, I think it will be one of the most important AniTube moments in 2020. I think that it's going to do a lot in terms of pushing forward certain notions in AniTube, and I think that it is going to change a lot. And I think we can already see that with the way a lot of Digi fans have been reacting about this. I think that potentially there could be a line drawn in the sand somewhere. Or it could just be normalized and nobody really cares. But I think that, like, what comes up here in terms of the AniTube fan base and the AniTube community could create a lot of things based on how people react. And I think that it's our job to kind of say what we think is right and what we think is wrong outside of just anime and anime discussion, but to actually talk about these other things, which is something I think some AniTubers do and I think some don't. Either way, that's my thoughts on it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on my channel. This is coming out on Sunday, so I'm sorry there's no Jump chapter review, but I'm going out of town, so I'm not able to. I'm recording this Saturday night, and I'm going to upload it before I leave tomorrow. And my Kimetsu video should be out. My Kimetsu review should be out sometime this week. Besides that, I don't think I really have much more to say, so thank you guys for watching. And I wish y'all, you know, I hope you guys have a good day, and I hope you guys have a good time. See y'all. Peace.